playing some Borderlands 2, and boy oh boy, today has been not only a good day, but just a crazy day. And there's this crazy like thunderstorm going on in the background. You guys may or may not hear it, uh, but it's been pretty loud. It's calmed down a little bit in terms of the big booms and bams, but you know, I wouldn't say it's over yet. Um, but today was it was good. It was weird. It was pretty awesome, but it was weird too. I got to hang out with my buddy Caleb. I met him about a year ago at work, and you know we still work for the same company. We just work at different sites. And so I hung out with Caleb, you know, and he's been saving up some money. Caleb, today, he had bought his first handgun. It was a Heritage Rough Rider. It's this little 22 LR, single action army style revolver. Now, I could have bought a handgun today. You know, I could have bought like a very cheap gun, like a Kel-Tec P17, because I don't have one, and they're very affordable. I just didn't feel like pulling it. Like, yet, you know, I don't have a 22 pistol yet, you know. I mostly carry out there's some of that thunder in the background. Oh man, dude. I love lightning and thunder, especially storms.
Hey kids, did you know your chances of being disemboweled increase by 80,000% upon leaving opportunity? It's a scientific fact.
There's a shitload of pistol ammo. Let's see what we get here. Some shitty grenade mods. And while my buddy was buying his first handgun, I went over to like the spare mag section, and I seen an extended Glock mag for like 13 bucks. Damn, it's getting crazy out there. And then I bought some ammo. I bought 2 boxes of 20 Sig Sauer Elite Defense jacketed hollow points. Why that was important to me anyway was, you know, the extended mag held 22 rounds, which is, I mean, you know, decent capacity. It's actually one more round more than the gun that's in the game. Seeing these like flashes of light, dude. Like it's crazy out here right now. But anyway, my buddy passed his background check, and you know, there were these dude, they must have been like 14 years old. There was this dude, these 2 kids. I don't know their names. I don't know who they are, but they're in the sporting goods store, and they're just walking around causing just absolute like just. I don't know. They're doing stupid shit, as stupid kids usually do. They're moaning, making all these strange noises, you know, being idiots in the store. And then they make the sole mistake of trying to like mess around with me and my friends, which just sounds made up, right? It sounds like I'm making this story up, but it's just 2 kids being idiots, right? And then I see the kid do it. He sees that I see him making the stupid noises and shouting and whatnot through the aisles. Just because there's like a lack of workers, it's later in the afternoon. It's a smaller town, and you know, I looked at him and I said, "Bro, dude, absolutely none of that." Then he looked at me, and then he tried to approach my group and try to talk to us about stuff. And you know, I don't know, man. Like, I guess when my buddy was buying his gun, he had his buddy with him too, which I met. His name was Alex. And so Caleb, me, and Alex are just in this fucking, you know, sporting goods store, and you know, we make it to the gun wall. We're just joking around, and you know, damn, man, I'm hearing like the crackling in the background. Anyway, So, damn, Chief. It sounds heavy out there. I might lose. If I don't think I'm gonna lose power. I think there might be a chance I might lose Wi-Fi service though. 100% with this storm. Anyway, but long story short, you know, like, you know, there's really just not a lot of people in the store. And so, you know, we're trying to find an employee to attend the gun counter, and this girl, she's just, she's a little bit more on the heavier set, but she was very, like,
That is
cute.
lovely.
In my opinion, I'm not really big into heavier set girls, but she was pulling it off, bro. She had like the little glasses, like the little nerdy glasses. Like she did have a septum piercing. I wasn't a fan of that, but she was pulling it off. It, you know, she had just, I don't know. She was kind of attractive for what she was. Just an average girl, not like an OnlyFans model. Just, you know, whatever have you. But you know, these kids are just making these stupid noises in the store, and they're just, you know, causing kind of issue. They're annoying me and my buddies, and they, you know, they walk over to the gun counter and they're trying to like talk to us and stuff like that, and we're just kind of trying to mind our own business. And then you know, she puts the gun in the box, right? Unfortunately, she might not have known what she was doing, but it's a revolver and the cylinder comes off, right? And so for store policy, she believes that she has to take the cylinder out, and then, you know, we have to reassemble it, you know, off, you know, out of the store at home, basically. Damn! And it's been like that off the stream this entire time. I don't know if you guys heard that, just boom, bro, that crackling boom. That's fucking wild, Chief. I mean, I could go farming for more hornets. I really do like the Hell Witch class mod. If only we can find like a green, or not a green, a purple version of this. But, you know, long story short, you know, this kid's like following us. Like, he's asking these stupid ass questions. Can I see it? Can I look at it? What is it? Well, you know, all these stupid ass questions. And then, you know, I'm going to my side of the checkout and I'm buying my extended mag and my ammo. And, you know, Caleb and Alex get into Caleb's car. It's this like little Nissan Versa hatchback. Alright, there's 3 big guys. Alright, that's fucking hilarious. Hopping into this little ass car. And this kid's like following me out to the fucking car. He's like, you know, he's asking to see the extended mag. But he's like, what did you buy? Did you buy a gun? Did you have a gun in the bag? And I'm like, no. I said, I have a fucking, I said I bought an extended mag for my Glock and 2 boxes of bullets. Can I see it? Can I hold it? He's just bothering me the whole way back. And eventually, you know, I just politely tell him to fuck off. You know, I don't know, bro. And this kid's attitude just, I don't know, bro. I don't know what's wrong with the kids today, man. But something's definitely wrong. We had been to Waffle House before we went to Dunham's, and oh, hey, what's going on, man? Dude, there's this crazy thunderstorm, and I'm doing like a story time type of thing. I know nobody's watching. I never delete my streams. Bro, you would not believe what happened to me today. Me and my friend Caleb, I've been out all day to a different part of Ohio. And we went down and, you know, to this area, and my friend Caleb had just bought his first gun. And dude, there's this really annoying fucking kid, bro, that just like kept bothering us. Like, first these dumbass kids are like moaning and doing all these weird sexual noises in the store. Alright, you know what I mean? Just as idiots typically do. But, you know, I'm just minding my business. I just bought an extended mag for my Glock. I bought 2 boxes of ammo. You know, I'm just minding my own business. You know, I'm not really messing around with anybody. These kids are just, I hate to say it, I don't want to say harass, because that makes me seem like a victim. I'm not a victim. Um, but at the same time, like, dude, these kids, bro, these days, they just don't, they have no chill, bro. Like they're just trying to fucking bother me. For me, it's just sunny because it is. I don't know, man.
Quiet!
Nope, we didn't get it. I think I'm gonna go farm for the Hellfire SMG. I don't know, do you play any Borderlands, bro? I know you've been watching like my Minecraft streams. Oh, wait. I'm gonna sit up. Oh, dude, that's crazy. Okay. Yeah, I play a lot of games, man. I ain't gonna hold you. Now obviously I played the Grand Theft Auto games and like a lot of the mainstream games. I have not played Fortnite like on the channel.
Stop.
I've played it maybe once or twice at a friend's house, but I've never downloaded Fortnite. I've never cared about Fortnite. I never liked Fortnite. It's just a personal thing. You know, but I've played like Infamous, Prototype, BioShock, Half-Life, Borderlands, Duke Nukem, Doom, Quake, Unreal Tournament,
Hold it.
Halo. So when is Minecraft Season 3 Episode 10? Probably be tomorrow. Or, well, not tomorrow, but today. Technically, today's Sunday. After I get some sleep, man. I've been awake all day. I can't sleep because of this crazy thunderstorm going on in the background. It's slowed down quite a bit, though. And I wanted to take a brief break from Minecraft, and today I got to touch grass with my friends. Yeah, it's calmed down quite a bit. I don't think my mic is strong enough to capture that kind of audio anyway. But right now, it's getting pretty crazy. Like, I've heard some loud, like, crackling booms. Just sounds like God just shot a fucking 44 Magnum. That's how I would describe it. Alright.
Another challenge completed.
Oh, I don't think I have like the side quest done for this to where I can go fight Scorch.
That shut him up.
Scorch is legendary, and also how long have I played this game? Hold on a second. I'm gonna pause this real quick so I can read the comment in its entirety. Like, how long have I played Borderlands? Like, in general, or for like, I'll answer the question. In generally, I've played this game since I was in middle school. Actually, I started playing the first Borderlands back when I was in elementary school. So, pretty much for most of my life, I've been playing Borderlands. And I have about 3,000 hours on my Borderlands account from the PS3, or not the PS3, from the PS4 to the PS5. This is the same thing here. Also, how long have you played this game for? So right now on my PS4, this is like 3,800 hours, I think, almost 4,000 hours. But I've been playing, if you count my PS3 and my non-PlayStation 4 to PS5 consoles, I've been playing Borderlands for quite some time, my friend. Safe to say that I've mastered this game. If you don't know what like badass ranks are, this is very impressive to have this level of badass ranks. I'm not gonna lie, this is quite impressive. Legendary weapons and such. But, also I have 2 characters, like, max level. On my PS3 I have 0 at OP10, and this one I only have 0 at OP7. But on like I said, on my PS4 I have them at OP10. Now, like 70%, that's like more than 70% of my life so far, yeah. And I'm still playing. Borderlands is just one of my favorite games of all time. I love this franchise. I really only like Borderlands 1 and 2, and I hate to do that. I'm not a fake fan or nothing like that. I just feel like Borderlands 3 was just such a cheap sellout. I think Borderlands, a pre-sequel, is a great game, but in terms of like what it did for the franchise, apart from adding some lore, I don't think it's super relevant of a game in comparison to like how Borderlands 2 was to Borderlands 1. And I still love Borderlands 1. I've been playing, like I said, I've been playing BioShock for even longer. It's even crazier. I started playing BioShock, for reference, I've been playing BioShock since the 2nd grade.
Gotcha.
And BioShock got me into like a lot of like deep games. I call them deep games. Just games that have a lot of mechanics to them. Like, for instance, because I really got into BioShock and I like loved watching videos about BioShock, I eventually stumbled onto a little known game called Half-Life. And through Half-Life I got into Valve games, and Valve games are just well-made games in general, but like Half-Life, Portal, Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, I don't know, man. And I've played like Quake, Doom, I've played, oh sweet, legendary loot midget.
So beautifully. No one but a god could accomplish such a feat.
That is beautiful.
What was I saying? Oh, I played Duke Nukem. Obviously, you know, I played the Grand Theft Auto games. What was I saying? Halo, Crisis, Prototype, Infamous, Condemned, Resident Evil, Bioshock. Obviously, I've already said Bioshock like 1,000 times. System Shock is a predecessor to that game. That takes place in space. Parasite Eve, Castlevania, Metal Gear Solid. I don't know. I love video games, man. Minecraft, Dark Souls, Bloodborne. You know, the Elder Scrolls, Fallout. Like yeah, man. I don't know, bro. I love video games, man. It's a lot of zeros. RuneScape. Oh, World of Warcraft. Splatter Witch. 5 into Flickr. Pretty sure this is Flickr, yeah. Wildlife Exploitation Reserve. Killzone, that's another good first-person shooter. Black is like a military shooter on the PS2. I really like that game. You know, obviously Call of Duty and Battlefield. You know, I think we all know those games.
Bye now.
Earth in 2003. Earth in the year 2300.
Enough of
So if it's 2023. Oh, sorry, it's no longer 2020. It's 2026. Dude, it's crazy to me. It is crazy to me that it is 2026. I'm still in like partial denial. Time is just flying by. I don't think that humanity will progress much further from this point on. I do think technology is going to increase significantly. I think there will be a point in time where they will sell...
Stay put.
I think there's going to be a point in time where human reproduction is going to be at a consistent decrease as the older generations die off. I think that about maybe 1/10 of the human race is going to be permanently like gone. And I say that because I feel like we're not producing as much as we're losing each year. You know, with the rising cost of living, the cost to afford to raise a family is going to exponentially increase to the point where less and less people can afford to raise children, buy a home. And, you know, with AI and robots taking over most jobs, pretty soon, remote work. I know people think, like, remote working is, like, a very safe option, a very safe career field. I think AI is going to destroy remote working. You know, people that work from home. I mean, like, I've always thought about that, you know, that would be the case. I'm not saying that remote working is not a worthy job, but I just don't think that it has enough job security. Because if anybody can do it, then why would you pay somebody $20 an hour, $30, $40 an hour, like a big salary to work from home, if an AI can do that? I don't think AI will take over the world. I'm not saying it will take over the world. I'm just saying, right? Like, what are we hearing, right? Like Donald Trump. Like, okay, I'm a conservative Republican. I am very patriotic, but I gotta say I'm just not the biggest fan of this current leadership. And it's not that I don't like Trump or his policies. I'm just not a big fan of the deprioritization of the American worker. The American worker, the American family is a building block of freedom, my friends. We made this country the way that it is. It wasn't millionaires that paved the roads. It was people like you and me, And I'm not saying that the working class is at constant threat of losing their job. There will always be jobs for humans. But at the same time, when it comes down to non-college degree required jobs, or jobs with crazy experiences, or jobs requiring to go to schooling and stuff like that, I feel like robots should take over jobs that humans really can't do. Deep sea maintenance, or NASA stuff. Well, that's what we get. I mean, at least in some, I know in a lot of foreign countries that don't have especially Zimbabwe, for instance, is not going to have the same AI takeover as in America. It's just not developed enough and doesn't have the infrastructure and the capabilities to sustain an AI controlled life. What we're talking about when we say AI taking over the world, what we really mean is AI taking over the countries that, I'm going to say this might be controversial, but the countries that matter. The United States, England, Germany, these big influential companies that are partnered with NATO, the world's most powerful military organization. Those are the countries that matter, and those are the countries that are going to be taken over. These so-called free countries are going to be taken over by AI. And taken over, not like in the Terminator Skynet, we're going to have T-800s killing people, but in the sense of AI is controlling the media, it's censorship of information, freedom is the ability for you and I to freely think, to make choices, rational thought. All of these things are going to essentially come to a halt. Independent thought is going to be the enemy of the state. And once that becomes a factor, this whole idea of freedom just goes out the door. It's useless. And so I think if we don't take a stand now, we're going to lose our chance too. And when that's said and done, no matter which aisle of the political party you fall on, it's irrelevant, The idea of political parties in general, I'm kind of against them, Republican and Democrat. Even though I am a Republican, if I were to pick a party, it would have to be the Republican Party. Because obviously the Conservative Party, the third party, will never win the vote, and it's designed that way. There's only two parties so that they can put people in two categories. And because there are people that are independent, that's the third category. But what they don't want is alternative solutions. So long as there are only two choices, there are only two possible outcomes, and it makes it easier to control, the way that the world works on just two outcomes. Because on a 50-50%, the president can only do so much. The congressional powers that Congress holds, the power of the power of the purse, the power to essentially decide what we spend our tax dollars on. Whether that be new roads, new military research development for weapons, whether that be, various other factors. I definitely feel like
Stay put.
the whole system of two is just only in place to control the people. What do you think? What do I think about the back rooms? You know, I genuinely think that it amazes me how just simple creativity, you know, like the back rooms, right? Because, I mean, you know, the internet's an awesome place, right? It's the ability for people to, like, post things, create new media. Slenderman, for instance, right? You guys remember Slenderman, right? Like, that was a whole big internet thing. Like, the creepypastas and stuff like that were a big internet thing. You know, content creators in general. I think it's become oversaturated, but, you know, I feel like I'm going off topic now. I think the back rooms, very, I don't know, it's very creative, it's very simple, and I like it. You know, it has room to expand, and it has, you know, like there are hundreds of different levels to the back rooms. I just, it's a bit too much for me. 7,317. Yeah, like there's just so much possibility with the back rooms because of how it's set up. I think really though, I think the back rooms illustrates an aspect of like the human psyche when it comes to liminal spaces, and that, you know, areas that were once occupied that are no longer occupied. And yeah, you're right. It is getting a movie, and I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to play out theatrically. But you know, I hope it's not shit. You know, I hope that it's pretty good. You know, I'm not sure what the point of the back rooms is. It's kind of like Minecraft, right? Like there's no like story, there's lore, but that lore is hidden and it's not well explained. You have to do a lot of digging and using your head, kind of like Left 4 Dead 2. You know, there's a lot of environmental storytelling, you know, things that aren't really said, but if you piece it together and you use your head a little bit, you can kind of figure it out. You know, and storytelling in that way respects the intelligence of the viewer. And so, I mean, I'm cool with whatever they do. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not the biggest backrooms fan. I don't know everything about the backrooms. But, you know, I think the movie has a pretty good shot at being decent. I think that concludes the thunderstorm, guys. I don't hear it anymore. Okay, so that's in there.
Freeze!
I'm back out. I'm gonna try to... I think there's a side quest I need to take in order to farm the legendary loot midgets out of those 4 boxes. I gotta grab that side quest real quick. But yeah, I mean, you know, I don't want this channel to be very political, but right now is a very important time to emphasize the importance of freedom. Because I feel like freedom is at you know, it comes at a cost, and that cost is not free. Freedom isn't free, okay? And I think that that is something that, you know, like I said, you know, AI, advanced technology, the advancements in communication and intelligence, you know, communication and intelligence, that's what the internet really increased, right? People's access to intelligence, people's access to knowledge, but that knowledge is more susceptible to being manipulated by AI, and, you know, narratives change. You know, AI can create whatever narrative it wants, and whoever's dumb enough to believe it, and they, you know, even intelligent people won't be able to tell the difference. There's a time right now where we can kind of tell what's AI and what isn't. It's getting harder to and harder to, and I think that the older generations, like the boomers, they're going to have the hardest time with this, right? Because whatever they see, you know, they're a see it and believe it generation of people. So they see something, they'll believe it. Right? Regardless of like the facts behind it. You know, obviously we're not talking about like magic tricks, but what we're talking about is they see like a fake news broadcast, they think it's the news. The news is the news. The news is always correct. So they're gonna follow like sheep to the herd, to whatever the AI wants them to think, or however they want them to think. And false flag invasions, countries declaring war on other countries, that's not official, you know, but that's the AI narrative. That's the news that we're hearing, you know. So it's like, if that's the case, then yeah, this world is pretty fucked. Not fucked because, you know, because, you know, somebody's on a dating sim that's AI controlled. No, it's fucked because, you know, AI is not in the best interest of humanity. Not the American people, the humanity. It is a threat against humanity itself. Not just the American people, not the Brits, not the Africans, not the Chinese or the Japanese or the Koreans, not the Irish, the Germans, the, you know, whatever country, whatever province, whatever you're in. It doesn't matter. AI is not going to discriminate you because against you for being a German or an American. It doesn't see a difference. It just sees people as one unit, and that unit is, you know, it's power, it's control. If you can control the minds of the people, you can control the balance of the world, and that's a problem. And if AI decides in a microsecond, you know, when AI and computers, when they simplify everything to binary numbers, you know, they take away emotions. You know, people have the ability to make emotional choices. You know, we have something that machines and computers can never have. It's emotions, all right? Because emotions are chemical reactions in our brain, right? Tell us how to feel about certain things, and everyone's different in that way. People see things differently. AI is like a hive mind. You know, it's you know, there's no distinguishable difference. I think that's horrifying, you know. Humans also have morality, right? We have morals, you know. We have our versions of right and wrong. It's wrong to steal. It's wrong to kill people. It's wrong to rape. It's wrong to burn down buildings. It's wrong to intrude on someone's property. You know, those morals come from something that, you know, AI can never comprehend. And so if AI is in control, it's not going to care, you know, about your reason or what excuse you might have. It doesn't care. So if it's running a judicial branch, or if it takes over our government, it's going to rule over the people with an iron fist of whatever it deems right or wrong. And that's scary. What's a machine to tell a human what's right or wrong? More importantly, machines don't have families to feed. You know, people have families to feed, and that's why we need to protect the working class of America and every nation across the world. You know, I'm very America first, but I will gladly and happily say I am pro people. I am pro humanity. It's an odd stance to take, but I'll say it proudly. But yeah, in America in 2300, in the year 2300, or sorry, yeah, 2300. Yeah, I think that I think electric cars will be probably, unfortunately for us, probably be maybe the only option. I see it as nightmarish. It's like a hell. You know, I see massive government surveillance. I mean, like, you know, Trump went to China with all these big tech millionaires. I'm going to be honest with you, what I think that's about. It's our president and our government going over to a foreign country to say, hey, we want to be able to spy on the American people as well as you guys can. You know, and that's why these data centers are going up. Like Utah, you guys can look this up. In Utah, a lot of people are going to be like not having central power because the government's converting a lot of that power to power data centers. And really what these data centers are is there are information being stored, you know, and these computer algorithms are going to feed into whatever AI they're going to like feed it to. feel like there is a new world order, if there is a, you know, at the end of freedom, end of the world, Terminator, Skynet, whatever you want to call it, I think we are in the pre-stages of it. I think my generation is going to basically see it happen firsthand, and I think the generations after are going to have to figure it out, and that's kind of a scary statement. You know, I'll say it out loud, you know, the American dream's dead. It's been dead for a long time. You know, it's been dead the moment that, you know, people can't afford to buy houses. It's been dead since the moment that McDonald's cost like $15 for a burger. You know, it's just bad.
Stop struggling.
Alrighty, so yeah, these legendary loot midgets spawn in these 4 boxes, and if you kill them, they have a really good chance of dropping good loot. And so we're just gonna farm these legendary loot midgets for a minute here. Their drops are random, so there's a lot of unconfirmed drops: pearls, legendaries, E-Tech, like the bone of the ancients, blood of the ancients, you know, the ancient relics. Which are decently powerful. They're not the best. I like to run them on a couple characters, like Axton. I like to run the one that increases assault rifle maximum ammo. You know, but like there's one that increases like fire damage and stuff. But you know, I think that I think the real nightmare fuel, by the way, guys, like if you look at Detroit Become Human, right? Like, you know, where there's like robots everywhere, like attending people, like they're gonna kill the beginner wage jobs. Like once McDonald's is run by AI, once it's run by robots and shit, eventually, I mean that's gonna take another 200 years. Think about this. This country is about 250 years old, I believe. Yeah, like fucking, if we were able to go to the moon in less than 500 years of being a nation, what else could we do? You know what I mean? What's another 100 years from now? So if it was the year 2300, I'm circling back to that original question. You know, in the 1960s, we built one of the world's fastest jets. It's held the record for the longest time, the SR-71 Blackbird. You know, in such a short period of time, you know, in the year 1945, we were able to split atoms. We were able to break things down on a molecular level. We were able to understand physics, science. We were able to understand shit from out of this world, really. What's another 100 years? You know what I mean? Like, in another 100 years, like, I think from the year 1970, we hit a technological wall, and it's only advanced so much, right? Like, the earliest computers, you know, once in the 1990s, once we were able to break down the computer, and, you know, now everybody, like even look in the year like 2015, everybody had phones that were 5 to 6 times more powerful, like processors, than the computer that put the man on the moon, whether we believe we went to the moon or not. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have simplified, broken down, and advanced technology in such a way. You know, another like 200 years, I think, you know, humanity, regardless of the ecological issues we might have, like with ecosystems and such, I feel like if countries like India and China don't have like sanctioned like embargoes put on them for the pollution, we gotta stop the pollution, guys. You know, Now here's a crazy thing too, which is wild. But like during COVID, when everyone was on lockdown and like carbon emissions dropped exponentially, the Earth's atmosphere actually needed. There was a special chemical in the atmosphere that's needed that comes from carbon emissions. We briefly damaged our atmosphere by reducing carbon emissions. So like the whole carbon emission blueprint, these EV vehicles, I don't see the practical purpose behind them. You know, they're still going to require natural resources like cobalt, nickel, lithium. You know, and these natural resources are not like infinite. You know, and they're used for other things as well, right? Like, you know, lithium especially, they're used to make batteries that are in like lawn and garden tools, regular like power drills and drivers, you know.
Empty.
Like lithium is constantly needed, and not only that, but if we're going to divert a large chunk of it to making batteries, then you know the demand for lithium is going to increase, and thus, you know, because the value of that resource is going to be used a lot more, and you know the cost of your batteries, the cost of basic electronics, which this world is, you know, how the world in the 1950s became like car dependent, we've become computer dependent in the modern era. You know, you really need a phone to get a job in most cases. Most jobs force you to apply online. You know, people are trying to kill the paper because they want to reduce the carbon footprint. Really, what that is doing is, you know, like paper is made from trees. Okay, you can replant trees. You have infinite fucking trees. All right, man. Like, you know, what we don't have is infinite crude oil. What we don't have is infinite like cobalt. What we don't have is just infinite bullshit. You know, what we have to do really is lock in and you know, I think it'll be like Dead Space, where humanity builds these planet-cracking vessels to mine minerals and other resources from other planets. I think it's going to get to a point where Earth will become uninhabitable at some point. Which is crazy to me to even say that or nearly suggest that. But if that's the case, you know, I don't see it. I don't know, man. The year 2300 is quite a bit. It's quite a distant future away. I do think about 10 to maybe even 20% of the human population will decrease. I feel like birth rates are dropping exponentially. And, you know, there are several reasons for that. Mostly due to economic issues, right? People are concerned that they can't afford to you know, to be able to take care of their families if they have a family. And on top of that, like, people are very socially awkward today. You know, especially my generation got fucked over from COVID. You know, so some people weren't able to handle that isolation, which is crazy to me because, I mean, like, the isolation to me was not a big deal. You know, because prior to COVID, I was already kicked out for months on end, you know, from school. I was already like, you know how that felt? You know, my sophomore year of high school, I got kicked out. I had walked out of high school. I had like left, like I just walked out. I had to, you know, I spent like 3-4 months by myself. It sucked because I'd hop on my video game because I was free to do whatever I wanted. I had no school. I'd get online and everybody else is at school or at work. I had no friends online. You know what I mean? Like I went outside. All my buddies are at school. And my mom, you know, my dad attempted suicide, I think a month after I had gotten kicked out of school. My parents separated. I didn't have a therapist to really talk to. I didn't have, you know, my mom had to work, you know, she had to do double shifts just so we can have food on the table. And, you know, like, dude, that fucking sucked, man. You know, I was going through so much at that point in time. So when COVID came around, you know, all these people were like talking about how depressed they got, you know, like, to me, it didn't really bother me, you know. But then again, though, to expect that out of so many other people is just crazy. But not to make it about myself by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, American life, like I said, the American dream's been dead. It's been dead for a very long time, but our society is pretty unforgiving, I'd say. You know, I never quite fit in, so maybe I'm just the wrong person to be giving social advice to. Or I'm the wrong person to be giving social advice, you know, because I never really fit in. But I tell you guys what, though, you know, I do think that birth rates will be dropping exponentially. Especially once
Please stop.
once they create, like, you know, because they already have. I hate to say this, but we're there though. We're definitely there. They already have like sex dolls, right? A lot of lonely people are buying like sex dolls to, you know, scratch that itch in their life. Pretty soon, once they become like full-on robots, dude, people are gonna have robot-human relationships, bro. And dude, it's disturbing to me. It bothers me greatly. You know, but I don't know. I definitely feel like it's definitely coming, bro. The whole Y2K thing, bro. It's crazy to think that, you know, Y2K panic. It just, man, dude, it's crazy to think about. I was born in the year 2002, you know, so me growing up, the biggest thing that was shoved down my throat was 9/11 and, you know, the whole Columbine shit situation, because like the whole school shootings were never really that like massive, but like after Columbine, you know, the Sandy Hook shooting, like the whole gun control arguments, bullshit gun control arguments, I should say, have come into play, and you know, I'm a pretty free thinker.
Freeze.
And you know, I argue against gun control, you know, and I'm pretty open about that. But you know, my biggest reason is this, right? They're called criminals for a reason. They don't follow the law, so changing the law is not going to change the criminal breaking the law. You know what I mean? The only person who follows the law is law-abiding citizens. But it gets rid of guns. It stops them from coming in. You know, there are gun manufacturers all over the world. You know, like in Germany, they have like HK, Wather. You know, in Austria, they have Glock, which is one of the world's biggest sold firearms manufacturers. Do you think they're going to stop making guns? Militaries need guns to be militaries. Guns will always exist. There are war zones all over the Middle East with millions of guns, American, foreign, just everywhere, bro. Guns will always be in circulation, and criminals will always have access to them. You know, like, this is a fact. Like, look what happens when we legally ban stuff, right? Like, look at the 1930s in America during Prohibition, right? The mafia, the Cosa Nostra was, you know, importing alcohol and doing all this other stuff, and you know, we guess what? The biggest failure with the Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms Bureau. You know, it's the world, even in countries where, like, even like, you know, say something as simple as even religion being banned, as unconstitutional and as unfreedom as it is. Countries like North Korea banned Christianity. You know what I mean? But people are still receiving the, you know, the word of God. You know, they're still receiving that because there are some people out there broadcasting it via radio. So it's just like, you know, we see countries even with the strictest control on the tightest possible grip that they can have on their people, and even that grip isn't strong enough to not have contraband or other thoughts opposed to their government's thoughts breaching in. So what makes the liberals think banning guns is going to stop the criminals? You know, all I see it doing really is putting a big white flag over every law-abiding patriotic American's house, saying, "Hi, we're unarmed, come rob us." And that's what's going to happen. The crime rates will shoot up through the roof. Terrorism will shoot up through the roof. Why? Because what's a terrorist's goal? to harm, to kill, and to hurt as many people as they can without getting hurt themselves, right? And that's why gun-free zones are terrorist hotspots. That's why you see schools get shot up. Nobody has guns there to stop them. That's why malls, you know, it's just like there's less guns, but gun-free zones, people get shot. Why? Because the law says it's a gun-free zone. What do criminals do? They break the law. So what do? They bring in a gun, and you know, murder is against the law. So what do? They start murdering people. Why? Because they're criminals. They don't follow the law. It's just that fucking simple. Life is pretty simple when you break it down. I know I'm going on a bunch of rants, but it's like 5, 6 in the morning. I've had no sleep. I've been dealing with this nonsense storm. It's been keeping me up. And on top of that, my insomnia has really kicked in. Yeah.
Freeze!
That was a massive failure.
Enough of you.
But yeah, the other argument with against gun control that I've heard, I think somebody said protect kids, ban guns, or whatever it was that I had seen, and I had made the comment of, well, guns protect children. You know, they protect children against terrorists or criminals, and that pissed a lot of people off, man. But it's true. You know, what do the cops use to stop criminals? They use guns.
No.
They use, sometimes, in very rare instances, you know, because we've made their jobs more complicated than they need to be, you know, they've used non-lethal force, which is awesome, because, you know, I'm pro-life. I don't want anybody to die. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, controversial hot take, you know, some crazy person decides it's okay to start shooting people, children nonetheless. Their right to life's been taken away from them. You know, they forfeited it. You know, and that goes for terrorists too.
I see a badass.
You know.
So, who's next?
But you know, that's terror. You know what I mean? Like, that needs to be stopped. And it's not a call to violence either. I'm just saying that the right to respond with violence, I don't think is that bad. 100 to the power of 2 to the second n to the second to 1 e equals 32. I have no idea what reference that is, or rather what that really means. It goes way above my intelligence. One with 32 zeros. It's a lot of zeros. Wish they'd add that many zeros to my bank account. Then maybe I could solve world hunger. That would be pretty cool. I don't know, if I had that kind of wealth, I would try to change the world. I think I'd get assassinated though. That's usually what happens when people go against the narrative. It's what happened to JFK. You know, he went against the narrative and he got whacked. I had no idea numbers can even get that big. But you know, here's a free thought for you guys. All right. I don't know if you guys get into the whole like, you know, religious debates or whatnot, but I feel like the direction, you know, I'm just talking about it. You know, I'm not saying people are right or wrong. You know, everyone has a right to their beliefs, but I feel like the whole debate platform for religion is just kind of strange because people want Christians like myself to prove God's existence. You know, and
Stay still.
it's possible. It definitely is possible. And I'll say math. Math is my evidence for God's existence. Math always has a right answer to all the different problems, all the different millions of possibilities. You know, if math is the language in which the universe was created, and I don't think people realize how powerful math really is. You know,
You're done.
And what I mean by that, but you know, the Greek philosophers used math to map out planet rotations and distances. You know, math is a lot more complicated than what we give it credit for. But humans did not discover math, or did not create math. You know, we discovered it. Which means that math definitely has a creator, but that creator is not human. Because in order for math to be created, whoever would have to create it would have to be all-knowing, you know? Because math is so, like, intricately complex with its solutions and variables and all this and that. So because of that, again, kind of a weak argument, but it's a very powerful one if you really grasp the full context. If something is all-knowing to the point where they can create a system like math that is universal across various cultures, you know, the Greeks were not the only people to discover math, my friends. You know, and we use math for everything. I mean, you know how essential math really is? It's essential for trading, like selling and buying goods. You know, it's essential for carpentry. It's essential for, you know,
Bye now.
you know, understanding like the circumference of objects and stuff like that. It's very important for that kind of stuff, for designing things. You know, and God is described as a creator of sorts. So everything has to have its numerical value in that sense. And it's just, I don't know, to me, it was explained to me in a way that I cannot explain it, but if you guys were able to hear it the way I was able to and grasp that concept, I think it is a very powerful argument for God's existence. You know, and I guess the other thing too is like the evidence from the Bible. You know, like you know, they talk about, you know, Moses parting, you know, the Red Sea, and you know, underneath there we found Egyptian chariots and weaponry and armor. And it kind of backs the claim from the story, you know. And not only that, but even like geologists and people that have, like, you know, that study the earth, study rocks, study natural aspects of that kind of shit, have stated that all over the world, all over the, you know, basically all over the globe, that you know, there is evidence, strong evidence for like a major cataclysmic event. Sorry guys, my English not so good. Involving like a major flood, right? And we think of like the Noah's Ark. You know, stuff like that. You know, and once we really start like getting deeper and deeper into it, like there's even more cases that can be made to support that. You know, to support God's existence, or you know, vice versa. And the other thing too is like the Romans archived everything. The Romans documented everything. You know, they documented the crucifixion of Jesus. You know, and that's human history, right? That's history, right? Like, how would we feel if somebody said World War II never happened? You know, were you there to see World War II? Were you physically there to see it? no, we weren't, but we know it happened, right? So I feel like the whole "were you there to see God?" Were you there to shake hands with Moses? No, obviously none of us were. You know what I mean? But at the same time, the whole just because we weren't there doesn't, take away any kind of like power to those claims, because, well, these are first-hand eyewitness testimony of this happening, and we have to believe in the trustworthiness of that. We have to believe that so many people seeing the same thing that they documented it as a fact of that period of time. And if that's the case, then I mean, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, and I don't study it enough to be comfortable enough having like a deep philosophical debate, or a religious debate for that matter. But I definitely stand on my business, as I think everybody should. And the other thing too is, like I was saying, about computers not being able to have emotions or be able to understand, human connection. If we look at it from an atheist point of view, love is just a chemical reaction in our brains, right? But I don't know, it's got to be more than that, man. Like, why do people have that reaction? And it's more than just a primal desire, because it's like, I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. Humans are like the only species of creature on this earth that has to buy their food. You guys ever think about that? Like, the whole, and I've had these crazy debates with people that are like, I don't know, people that think, and like, wildlife is just as valuable as human life, and I've shut that shit down. I'm not saying that like animals' lives don't matter, they certainly do, but they're not equal to the lives of a human. If I seen a dog, like a German Shepherd, like drowning in the water, and I see a child drowning in the water, the priority is the child overall. And I've had somebody tell me that they would save the dog, and I'm just like confused, and I'm dead ass serious. It's a real conversation that happened. And I'm like, what? And then so it really brought me to this thought process, what makes humans humans? What really makes us the way we are, the intelligent life forms that we are? And yeah, and don't get me wrong, animals are very important things, and I hate animal cruelty just as much as anybody else. I don't like people that abuse pets. I don't like people that hurt small animals. I look down upon that, and then that's cruel, and that's evil, and that's wrong, and I condemn that. You know what I mean? And I just I do believe in protecting wildlife to some extent. You know what I mean? Like, to take a look at the passenger pigeons, right? Not many people know this, but in America, passenger pigeons were probably one of the largest populations of birds. We killed all of them, bro. It's crazy. I don't want any species of any type of creature to go extinct, but they do. Right? The dodo birds, passenger pigeons, some species of sharks, and keyword some species, right? Because, the way that we relate the animal kingdom, for sure animals, their lives matter, right? Like, I had a pet cat. I named him Gilbert. I don't know if you guys seen Caillou, but when I was a kid, I named my cat after the cat in Caillou. But, that cat was 21 years old when it died. And it had been in my life since I was 6 years old. And I took really good care of that cat. And that was like my childhood buddy. But, and that cat's life mattered so much to me, and I took such great care of it. It was in my family for a long time, and, it's just like, that's just reality. And some people feel like, I'm sure that the value of an animal's life can mean more in that way as well. some people consider that pet as a part of the family, right?
And now
And that means that its life has value because people care about it and cherish it, and that's an emotion, and emotions are valuable, right? But emotions are not factual because they're emotions. There's no fact to it. And, you know, that's the beauty of being a human. You know, not everything has to be factual or have a reason or a rhyme to it. It just has to, you know,
You're done.
it could be whatever it is, you know. And like having a pet is one of those examples where, you know, the value of a pet is valuable, you know what I mean? But I don't think it would ever exceed a person's the value of a person's life. If I had a pet dog and say that dog was like a German Shepherd or like a, I don't know, just a dog that is capable of like harming a person, right? Like you know, and I say German Shepherd a lot because I think of like attack dogs. But like say even a Doberman, right? And this Doberman starts trying to eat a child, you know what I mean? I'm gonna put my dog down because it's a threat. Because it's a threat to people's lives. It's gonna hurt. I'm not saying that I'm gonna, you know, I'm not the ATF. I'm not gonna just shoot a dog, you know what I mean? But if that dog is endangering people or children or whatever the case is, endangering other dogs, okay, you know, that's endangering somebody else's pet, you know what I mean? And we gotta put an end to that, you know, for legal reasons, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. Like it's it's a tough one, you know. And I had a pet fish. I had a Siamese fighting fish, a betta fish. I had it for about almost 3 years. It died. You know, they don't. You know, my tank was not optimal living conditions for that particular fish. Even though they're very hardy fish. But you know, unfortunately, you know, like they don't. The average lifespan of a betta fish isn't even 2 years. You know what I mean? In the wild, you know, like in Vietnam or Thailand or, you know, places, you know, in Southeast Asia where they're found. But you know, I was able to get mine to last about 2.5 years, and you know, it died of natural causes. You know, and it sucks. And even that like little fish, right? Because I've had a lot of people make fun of me because I cared a lot about my pet fish, right? They're like, it's just a fish, and that statement kind of, you know, it kind of hurt because, you know, to me that was my buddy, right? 'Cause, when my dad had passed away, you know, because there was a time he attempted to commit suicide, and that's what caused my parents to separate, which caused both of them tremendous emotional damage, but also myself, you know. It was a whole process, but afterwards, after years had passed on, you know, I just, as I was becoming older, I moved out into my first apartment, and, well, I spent a lot of time by myself, and, you know, since my cat, Gilbert, had, you know, passed away shortly before that, I had, you know, I bought a fish tank, and I started, you know, it became one of my biggest projects in life. You know, 'cause I started taking care of it. I started buying other fish. You know, I have 2 other fish. You know, and they're much more hardier. You know, they're mostly algae-eating fish, and they're very easy to take care of. But, you know, my pet Arthur, I named him Arthur after Arthur Morgan from Red Dead. But you know, it had passed away, and it really sucked. You know, it really did. But some people thought it was really weird that I had a pet fish. You know, because, you know, I don't know why, but people were saying all these like crazy things about me having a pet fish. Particularly, I don't want to call her my ex. That's how much I despise her. But Sandra thought it was really weird that I had a pet fish. You know, and I don't know. I just, you know, the idea, the comment, it's just a fish, just bothers me. It's like, well, it's just a dog. It's just a cat. You know, it just it doesn't feel right. But I prefer fish over cats or dogs, really, because you know they're in their own enclosure, they're in their own habitat, and you know it's not like I'm playing God with their life or whatnot, but I make their life what it is, you know, and I try to give my fish the best life possible, and you know, cleaning the tank, you know, measuring the pH levels, water science is a whole world of I've looked at water so differently now that I've, you know, maintained a fish tank, and really thought about like marine life and how interesting it really is, and that's opened my eyes to a whole aspect of life and just, you know, the world in that sense.